You know the idea of an I want song? In every Broadway musical, there is an I want song. And it's a song good to see you, Scott and guys. It's a song that the leading character usually sings close to the top of the show, letting you know what the show's about. Did you all know that? And so now if you go look at all your favorite musicals, just look to see, what song is happening in the beginning of the show that tells you, like for instance, Nellie Forbush, she sings, "I'm gonna wash that man right out of my hair." That's her I want song in that particular show. But Corner of the Sky is Pippin saying, he feels he's the son of the king, but he's like this little nebbish, kind of unpowerful kid that doesn't feel comfortable. And of course, he's singing this song. I need to find, where do I fit in? Where's my corner of the sky? And the whole play is about how Pippin transforms. So take a look at this lyric, if you would. So many men seem destined to settle for something small, but I won't rest until I know I have it all. How do you feel about that? Yes. Yes. So my question then becomes, can you have it all? Yes. Yes. These are very random yeses. It's a question that I think we want to entertain today. Not only can you have it all, the answer is yes, but it's not what you think. It's not that you can own everything. It's not that you can have everything you decide you want in this world. Religious science has had a problem with that, actually, because a lot of people come into this teaching and think that what we're saying is you can have anything you want at any time, no matter what. How many of you think you've heard that here? No, of course, no one's going to raise their hand because they know where I'm going. But it's easy to think that that's what we're saying. And so, can you have anything you want at any time, no matter what? Who are the yeses? Who are the no's? Who are the I don't care? It's a really good question. I believe, and when you look at this, I won't rest until I know I have it all. Think about it in a metaphysical way. Because Dale said it yesterday during our prosperity workshop, which thank you all who came. It was really quite something. It really was something for myself, too. I prepared a 5-hour workshop to do in 2.5 hours, but they really went with it. But Reverend Dale said it yesterday when I said, what do you want? And the number one thing. And she said, I want to continue to explore and know who I am spiritually. That's having it all. I won't rest until I know who I am. I won't rest until I stop pretending to be someone else, someone weaker, someone less interesting, someone less creative, someone less successful. We tend to pretend these things, but that's not the truth. You actually do have it all, because the allness is not in the relative world. The allness is you. So I won't rest until I know I have it all because of who I am. I have it all not because of what I do, but because of who I am. So our job is to understand ourselves, know ourselves bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's, I believe, why you're sitting here today. This is what drives you. It's also called purpose. Give me the next slide. Ralph Waldo Emerson said this: the purpose of life is not to be happy. Well, that's a big, exciting one, isn't it? The purpose of life is to not be happy. Thank you, Ralph. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. Now, how does that sound? Sounds pretty good, right? So the only purpose of my life then, the only purpose of my life is to live it, period, to just live it. So if I'm looking for the corner of my sky, and I'm saying, I won't rest until I have it all, and I say to myself, but what I'm really looking for is my purpose, and I want clarity on what my purpose is. How many people here know that at one point this week, they came to a question of, what am I supposed to do here? Just in anything. Mostly we come across this every week at some point, sometimes every day. What am I doing here? What's my purpose? What wants me here? What is mine to do here? Whatever the question is. But there is an overriding purpose, a much bigger purpose, the purpose of who you are as a divine being, as Reverend Dale talked about. So Ralph Waldo Emerson, this was one of my favorite quotes, and it kind of doesn't work for me anymore. That's why I brought it to you. To defame Ralph Waldo Emerson. No, but think about it. The purpose of life is not to be happy. Who says? Who says that if I am, what am I looking at? Honorable, useful, compassionate, and it means something, and I make a difference in the world, who says that that's not being happy? No, I think what he's saying is your purpose should be focus on all of this, not on being happy. And I'm saying, focus on being happy. And if you're happy, you're probably going to be more compassionate. If you're happy, you're probably going to give more of yourself. If you're happy, you're probably going to leave a big, big presence in the world. Right? Some of you are like, what? Because Thomas Troward said this: the purpose of life is to enjoy the journey. Who wants that one on the right? The purpose of life is to enjoy the journey of life. So just think about your life for a moment and ask yourself, how much of your life are you enjoying? Really enjoying. Now, I know the audience I'm speaking to. I know all of you, many of you are retired. Many of you are golfing a lot. Who golfs a lot? Oh my God. So I don't know my audience. So I'm just going to know that most of you live very fulfilling, happy lives. Yes? Yes. But do you want them to be happier? Yes. Do you want more money? Yes. Who wants more money? Yes. Okay, if your hand's not up, I need to talk to you. I don't mean that you have to have more money. I know, I'm not going to go into yesterday's workshop, but yesterday's workshop was all about, it was funny, poor David Flint. He answered a question so sincerely and so honestly when he said, no, I'm actually really good where I am. I don't need any more. So I said, come up here. And he came and he stood at the microphone, and I said, so you're good. You have everything you need, and you don't need any more money in your life. He goes, yeah, exactly. I said, can you go anywhere you want right now without worrying about it financially? Just pick up and go and do the most amazing things. He says, well, no. I said, would you like to? He goes, well, yes. I said, then you need more money. And that was that. And I said, sit down. But he was so honest about it. So that's what I'm saying. So the purpose of life is to enjoy the journey. Your journeys are not over. Your journeys are just beginning. Every single day, your journey begins again. And it begins with this question: what am I here to do today? That's it. I say that every day. What am I here? And I try to say it before my feet hit the ground. Do you ever notice that when your feet hits the ground, everything starts happening? Suddenly, Kevin needs me to turn on the coffee pot. And now I forget what I was going to ask myself because I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed that he asked me. So what is mine to do today? What am I here to do today? And then just listen, see what it is. So the purpose of my life is to be awake, to be aware, to be alive, to be on this journey, aware of the journey, awake to the journey, and listen. I mean, a number of weeks ago, months now, Dr. Laura took a journey. Right? Dr. Laura, come here 1 second. I want you to see what this has turned into. Look at this. So she took a journey that took her a lot of places, yes. Right? Yes. Now, I don't say that we all have to fall down a staircase to take a journey or get cancer or any of the things, my big journey, or any of the things that we don't perhaps want to do. But what Thomas Troward is saying is the purpose of life is to enjoy the journey. No matter what, whatever that journey is. There's some clarity for you. We need to stop trying to change the things in our life and start understanding why they're there in the first place. Because if I have clarity about why it's just what Laura Nicoletti said. If I have clarity, if I understand why it's there in the first place, I am revealing the truth and I am healed. So it's not that my mentor, Dr. David Walker, used to say, all God's children got troubles. Except he'd say, all God's chillin'. All God's children got them some troubles. But turn the troubles into truth. and see what happens. So, next slide, please. So Eckhart Tolle says this: awareness is the power that is concealed within the present moment. So if I'm saying be aware of the journey, I'm saying be aware of each present moment. So awareness is the power that is concealed within the present moment. The ultimate purpose of human existence, which is to say your purpose, is to bring that power into the world. That to me is so much more of an inspiring way of saying to me, who you are is what the world needs. And that's for each and every one of you. Who you are is what the world needs. Who Laura Nicoletti is what the world needs. She's never going to be the same kind of minister I am. She has way too much class for that. But the world needs that voice. The world needs Dr. Laura's voice. The world needs Reverend Dale's voice. The world needs Reverend William's voice. I had to do that. No, there are people that will only relate to Reverend William because he's putting something out into the world that hits and matches someone else. So this very idea of comparing ourselves to one another is absurd, isn't it? It's absurd for you to compare yourself to anyone. And you know what it's really absurd for you to compare yourself to? Your younger self. Oh, I've hit a nerve. How many of you are still comparing yourself to your younger self? Sometimes I do. I'm making that concerted effort to every time I sit down not go, I just won't do it anymore because my younger self did not do that. I never remember myself groaning every time I leaned down or to pick something up. Yeah. How many of you are still doing that? Right, so I don't know why I just talked about that, because it's comparing myself to my younger self. Maybe I should be okay with grunting. I'm not doing it. So, awareness is the power that is concealed within the present moment. In this moment right now, you are filled with power. When Andre got up on the stage and started to sing, his power started to be unleashed. Right? It just started to come out. It did what it does. Because we know when we get up on stage, we open our mouth, we do what we do. When I came into rehearsal today, I had no voice. Because I've been talking a lot. Plus, I went bowling Friday night, and I was screaming at Elizabeth so much that my voice is a little tough. Yeah, it's like, let the ball go! But then Elizabeth came to her power, and she said to me, very seriously, first she gave a 10-minute disclaimer on how I wasn't going to like what she was going to say. Right, Dr. Laura? And Dr. Laura said, could you just tell us? Because that was a long time. And then she just said, I don't like bowling. And I said, well, why do you think I was going to not like that? I'm glad, it's okay you don't like bowling. Someone has to get the drinks while we're bowling. So it was absolutely perfect. True to yourself. Don't try to fit in. Don't try to be what everybody wants you to be. Don't even try to be what you think you want to be. That's really what this whole talk is about, because what he's saying is your purpose is to bring the power into this world. You cannot bring your power, your talents, your creativity. You cannot bring any of that into the world if you haven't literally embraced the present moment where it resides, right here. You know how hard it is to try to do something you already had in your mind how it was going to turn out? Now you're trying to do what you thought about a week ago, and now I'm going to do it. No. I said to Laura when I said, how are you feeling today? And I said, you know what, all you got to do is be present and just let out whatever comes out. That's it. That's all we ever have to do. Does preparation matter? Yes. She has worked hard to get to that moment. But preparation gives you even, all the work you do on who you are allows you in every moment to throw it all away. Ice skaters, when they go out to do their Olympic ice skating, they can't be thinking about what they're trying to do. They just do it. The ones who win. And then when you start thinking about what you're trying to do, anybody have that happen? As soon as you notice what you're doing? You know, I always talk about the night before the critics came to West Side Story and I spilled out, right? Center stage in front of 1,500 people at the Minskoff. Right at the end of my big number, cool, was not so cool. I just twirled and splatted right on the stage. And this is nothing like hearing 1,500 people all go, ah! It was really sad. But the hardest part was the next night, in front of every critic in the world. Well, that's a little hyperbolic. a lot of critics. And all I kept thinking was, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. It was right before the number, and I went, I can't think about this anymore. And I just went out and did it. And it was like, twirl, twirl, twirl. And I'm sure, I wish there was a video of opening night, because I'm sure my face went, yeah! Like, which was inappropriate for the character. So our job is to see, where are we? Where am I? I'm right here. What is mine to do in this moment? If you give me the next slide. So the title of my talk is, Where Do You Hang Out? I didn't even realize, William, that looks a little West Side Story-ish. Yeah. So, where do you hang out? How many of you had a crowd when you were a teenager that you hung out in? Raise your hands. Great, okay. How many of you were members of gangs? One honest person. Right. But you all had your groups, right? Everybody, you go through high school and you find your group, you find your crowd, you find your people. Well, did you find yours? You had a crowd, right? You hung out with a crowd. You still have a crowd. You were out till 4 a.m. the other night with a crowd. But that's a good thing. It is a good thing, right? Yes. That's William's son, by the way. You can question him about it later. So when I was growing up as a teenager, I didn't have a crowd. I didn't have a gang. My older brother did. He had his group called TKA. Still don't understand what it stands for. In Philadelphia, they all had shirts. They all wore their shirts. They all had these weird names. My brother's name was Shark. No idea why. And they had a Bug and Bugsy, and I was like... And they tried to bring me in. They were like, do you want to come and play, ball? I was like, yeah, no. But then I would try to fit into the crowd, and I would go. I'd be the last one picked. Humiliating. Why go? So I didn't have a crowd until I got to high school. And what do you think? Who do you think my crowd was? Theater people. So I was a show queen. All through high school, college, moved to New York, and has been my whole life. Now my crowd is the metaphysical world and showbiz. And very often they overlap. So where do you hang out? Now here's the reason why you hang out where you hang out. Give me the next slide. So your beliefs are determined by two things, environment and intuition. You hang out with the people you hang out with. You are a part of a certain group of people, even today, all because of two things, your beliefs and your intuition. Mostly your beliefs, because most people don't lean into their intuition very often. But where do your beliefs come from? Thoughts. Well, your thoughts come from your beliefs. Your beliefs come from everything that's preceded you. The environment, right there. All your beliefs come from the environment. You grew up with all these different beliefs, and your beliefs create the world you want to live in. So you gravitate to people, believe it or not, with the same beliefs. So having this clarity gives you an upper level of you being able to look at your life and saying, okay, so here's who I relate to, here's who I hang out with, here's what I've done my whole life. What is mine to do now? In all clarity's sake. What is mine to do now? What is my purpose? Next slide. So, anybody know who Eileen Cady is? She's of course you do. Yeah, she's an amazing metaphysician, early 1900s in Scotland, and of course bringing over into England. And she created an amazing metaphysical movement at the time, which is still there. Queen Elizabeth actually gave her one of those things called she gives a knighthood. But what do they do it for a girl? Do they give a girl a knighthood? Dame. She became a dame. Yes, nothing like a dame. So. So she said this, cease trying to work everything out with your minds. It will get you nowhere. Live by intuition and inspiration, and let your whole life be revelation. So just think about that for a second. Cease trying to work everything out with your minds. How many of you have spent an inordinate amount of time trying to fix the things in your life with your minds? Right? All of us. And it's like I said to Laura, the heart has to come into the play at some point. So what she's saying is, live by intuition and inspiration, and let your whole life be revelation. And go to the next slide. Let your whole life be revelation. So here's where I'm going to make a little paradigm jump in how I'm going to talk to you. Because so far, I have been talking to you using the relative world as illustrations, Elizabeth, Broadway, anything that I could relate to you from me to bring it to a very personal level of intimacy and acknowledgement and something that you would relate to in many different ways. Golf, apparently only a few of you for that, but and let your whole life be revelation. So the question I have for you is, do you think you could live your life from intuition? Do you think you could live your life from that place, not the relative world, not everything you think you know, but from a place where you're just open to a, dare I say, a divine knowing, something bigger than what you perhaps use most of the time? Because I think that's what she was talking about, and I think that's what just happened in a class I was teaching, and I think this is the next step for this teaching. It's not about critical thinking. It's not about trying to figure it all out. It's actually understanding that when I turn over to a bigger part of my mind, it figures it out through me. And it's a lot less painful to let it figure it out through me that way. So how do you feel about that? What does that feel like? Does it feel good? Can you imagine yourself? Like when I sang Nearer Than the Air, I know how I feel after that song. And I'm like, I could stay here all day, but I still do have to go bowling. And I still do have to do this and do that. But can I not do it? Can I not do it from the consciousness of an intuitive knower? Can I not walk the earth that way? Even if I just practice doing it, I'll do it a little bit today, I'll do it a little bit tomorrow, then I'll go back to all the other stuff for a little bit. And then you're going to start finding out, when you go back to it the other way, you're like, ooh, this kind of doesn't feel as good. Let me get back over here. So that's what I'm here this is my last Sunday to talk about clarity. To say, that door has opened wide for me. If you give me the next slide. So, when I listen to that song now, Gotta Find My Corner of the Sky, it doesn't mean the same thing to me anymore when I hear those lyrics. Because guess what? I'm not looking for a place to belong. I'm looking to belong everywhere. And that's our job. So really, you're not the corner of anything. You're not looking for any group to hang out with. You're not looking for your crowd or your people. You are all people. You are everything, everywhere. There's no corner of the sky. There's just the sky. And you know what they say about the sky? Sky's the limit. It's way beyond the sky. So I invite you for the rest of this month, just think of that one little thing that I switched into today. Can I live from an intuitive sense of knowing? And can I get my very wildly imaginative mind out of the way for a second to hear what needs to be known here? That's what we're here to do. That is why we are the spiritual center of the desert. Because right here in this moment, as Eckhart Tolle says, you are everything you could have ever been, right here. And when you get present to that, when you're willing to honor that, hear that, know that, be that, something is unleashed and you are just power personified. That's what I know. No more corners. I want the entire enchilada. Yeah. Namaste.